I'm Becky with Icing on Top Becky's Cakes, and in this tutorial we are going to go back to the basics. I realize so many times in my tutorials I talk about piping on cupcakes. You may have already seen my other basic tutorial about how to get a cake to release from the pan, how to smooth the buttercream over, so you know the very basics about how to smooth a cake. But I've never gone through the simplistic, most basic instructions on how to use a piping bag. And yes, you'll definitely need that if you're going through my channel. So let me get to the basics here for you. Okay, so first of all, what I use are disposable piping bags. Now you can use the reusable cloth ones. It's got to make sure that they're really cleaned out good between each use. So anyway, here's the basic piping bags. These ones are the 12-inch. I use the 12-inch for most things, unless I'm doing larger quantities of cupcake orders. But there's a 12-inch bag. Now you'll notice the tip not cut off yet. We're gonna have to cut that off in order to fit the various piping tips. So these are our piping tips. These are just examples of a few. You have, this one's often used for the leaf. Here's an open star tip. And here's just a little writing tip, which you would use to write on a cake or something. So those are some of the basic tips, and they're all different. So if you're using the same color buttercream, why get different bags? Why waste bags? Why waste time by getting those bags ready? So we're gonna use this little guy. It's called a coupler. The coupler is what holds the tip to the bag. This will help you be able to just exchange tips without having to use a new bag for each one. So this is basically what it looks like. And then it's got this piece that just screws right on. Now we're gonna leave that, the part that screws on, off. We want this part to be in our bag. And what I do is I do a rough measurement. You always wanna cut less, not more. So where exactly do we want that to sit? So we're gonna cut it right about here because we want it to sit right there on the bag. So, because you want part of it through so that you can screw it out, but you don't want it popping the whole section out. If you make the hole too big, sometimes when you're squeezing on your piping bag, it's gonna pop the whole thing out, and that's not fun. This way, you can cut a little more. So I see I need a little more off before I can fit that tip nicely through there. I'm gonna cut just a little bit more to fit that in. Okay, now we just use some pressure to squeeze that up there, kind of jiggle it down. And if you don't have good quality piping bags, then you might split the bag, or it might bend too much, and then that might be your trouble if you've had a bag split on you or something. You're probably buying a really cheap version. And I'm not saying you have to get the most expensive ones. Right now I'm using Kraft Edibles pastry bag. That's somewhere in between. Wilton's, I would say, is probably one of the best, one of the strongest. And Kraft Edibles is very comparable to that, but more economical financially, so we're gonna go with that. So I use Kraft Edibles. So anyway, we got it all the way through. Now we're gonna attach one of the tips. I'll take the writing tip, we're gonna place it right over the top, and now to hold it in place, we're gonna screw that right in. And now whenever you're piping, if you have the same color that you're gonna be using later, like this is your writing tip, so maybe you've used the star tip later, so you can easily exchange it. So here's the bag. In order to fill the piping bag without getting frosting all over you, I always fold it in half. And you never want a completely full bag. You'll be getting frosting all over yourself if that's the case. So you fold it in half, and I hold it like this, and then I place the frosting in there, and you can pull the bag back up. And the bag's usually about a half to a fourth full. If you have a little trouble with your piping, do less, because then, or especially if you have arthritis or something, you have a hard time squeezing those piping bags, always do less, it's easier to squeeze. Oh, and we have one more coupler. I showed you just the traditional regular coupler. Wilton also has another one that looks a lot bigger, like this, and it's got a piece that just slides down. You can see the ridges around there. It fits right into there, and then you twist it. And so it's just one twist. So that one's the one twist one. You do it the same way. You fit that right on top, you do the one twist, and it's on there nice and firm. So that's the other kind of coupler. And this one, you would fit it right to this line right here. You fit it, the bag should always come right to this line so that you can still use those ridges. You need those ridges exposed and not in the bag. So then you would press it down like that. So that's the other coupler. Okay, so what happens if you have a bigger tip, like this 1M? 1M tip is not gonna fit on this coupler. So the 1M tip is going directly into the bag. So you can see I just cut the bag and I just pop the 1M tip straight in. And so you can do that with the other tips too. If you don't think you're gonna need a coupler, and because you're only using one tip, then you can just pop it right in there. Then I'm gonna fold my bag in half again with this one. I'm gonna show you how to fill that bag up. So I'm holding it like this, kind of cupping it with my hand. Then I'm gonna take my frosting, use a nice firm spatula or something, and I'm just gonna scrape it in there, and that makes it real easy to get your frosting or your buttercream in your bag without getting it all over your hands. So there, it's half full. Pull my bag back up and do the little shake it down. Be careful, you probably drop out buttercream if you shake too hard. Then you press it down. I'm holding from the top, pressing it down with my hands, and right where my fingers are, I'm gonna twist it. That's where I'm gonna twist it. And as I work along and I'm using up buttercream, you're gonna press it down again, twist it where you're at. Always keep it firm. You want your buttercream all pushed down, because then you're doing less work up here. Otherwise you're squeezing, and it's not getting anywhere. Well, that's because you need to press your buttercream down, twist your bag. That way it's staying firmly where you need it to be, right there. And I hold it with my thumb in place. That holds the twist in place, and it really gets easy the more practice you get. And then so whenever you're piping, you always squeeze from up here. Don't try to squeeze from down here. You're gonna be trying to press, you're working against yourself. The buttercream's gonna wanna come out. So always squeeze from up here, and then whenever I say apply pressure in any of my videos, what I do is you're applying pressure by right here. This is where you apply pressure. You apply pressure, and if you're still applying pressure when you pull away, then it's gonna come away with you. So if you apply pressure, stop applying pressure, and then pull, and you have more of a star there. So I'll show you how to do that in some cupcakes here.
All right, so here's how we're holding the bag with our thumb, keeping it in place. I press down the buttercream, twist it, and then using the pressure from the top, I'm just squeezing with those fingers on top and piping around. Now I'm not pressing the buttercream or the tip into the cupcake, I'm piping directly above the cupcake. So I'm gonna squeeze down again, twist and pipe, and then spin around that middle portion, applying the pressure, release the pressure, and then keep pulling. And then you can color your buttercreams by using a gel food coloring. I love AmeriColor because they're always so vibrant. You only need to add a little drop to get these colors. Then add a few sugar pearls or something to them, and that just kind of dresses them up, or whatever kind of sprinkles you want to add to them. So thanks for joining me today, and please subscribe to my channel.